Hi, it's Christine from Moonshine Safari and
Anthony from Moonshine Safari.
Woo!
Yeehaw.
We're up to episode 7 of the Outlander series, and this episode actually covers chapters 14 and 15. And just as a quick reminder, we have spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't listen, but you do want to be spoiled, so you should listen.
Get spoiled.
Get spoiled. Last episode, Claire was with the English, and it was kind of some filler stuff, but it was interesting. And then finally, she was with Blackjack, and she had an ugly encounter. He ends up punching her in the stomach. It was great for her. And then now she is in the situation that she's going to have to marry Jamie in order to stay away from Blackjack, who looks exactly like Frank who.
Frank? Who?
So this one opens with a flashback of Claire and Frank. It's not in the book, but it's kind of fun, where they decide to have an impromptu wedding. Essentially, they are on their way in the flashback to meet Frank's parents for the first time. It would be for Claire. Frank says, why don't we just get married right now at the city hall? It's fun. It's not in the book. And the reason that's important is because in the book, she actually marries Jamie in the same chapel she married Frank in.
Dun, dun, dun.
Woohoo! Frank who?
It's easy to erase the memory when you just do it again.
You just do it in the same place. Right. Change of cast.
You don't have to remember anything.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I remember we got married in that church.
That church. Frank who? Well, and when she and Jamie get married, it's a new church. And when she and Frank got married, it was old. Which is weird because that's their second. Anyway, okay. So the episode is very flashbacky. The next thing that happens is Jamie comes into the room at the inn and it is post-wedding. They're having a conversation. It's very similar to the book. He reminds her not to be afraid. He tells her he's not going to jump on her. She's like, I didn't think you would. And she doesn't. She's never afraid of him. There's a lot of noise and he explains that the men are downstairs and they are the witnesses. They need a witness. And a lot of witnesses because they don't want to give Blackjack, Randall, Frank who's ancestor, any room to say the marriage is not legal. He wants to talk to her. They're drinking together and they're having a nice conversation. And Claire says she has questions. And honestly, there's a part of it you feel like she's stalling a little bit, but she does have questions. And so he's not surprised. Basically, it's very similar to the book. She starts asking him why he married her. And he starts to tell that story in flashbacks about the conversation with Dougal and with Ned about why he had to do this. And essentially, he starts being clear about the fact that he had some conditions. But Dougal is also clear that this marriage has to be a real marriage. There can't be any side agreements between them not to really be consummating the marriage or anything. They have to actually be married. And by the way, Dougal has some ulterior motives in this too that we're going to find out later. So that's kind of a plot point for both the books and the show, which is, I know, it becomes interesting. So Claire's nervous and she asks more delayed questions. She wants to know about his family and he's basically given her the rundown of his family. She even tells him not to go back very far because otherwise she loses the thread of it. He asks about her family and she tells him obviously not including anything about cars or airplanes, but just essentially that her uncle raised her. Her mom and dad died, so she was an orphan. Eventually, they are starting to hear some teasing from the men and they kind of rush into the room, which doesn't really happen in the books, but it's pretty funny. I think it's Rupert and Angus that rush into the room.
Always them too.
And trying to get a peek. and Jamie kicks him out. And so she's nervous, but eventually they have to get to the Bom-Chicka-Wow.
They got to get down to business.
It makes a struggle a little bit clear in her face that this is not necessarily easy for her, that she knows she's going to sleep with him. But what I like about the Jamie in the books, to be honest, I think he's still serious, he's still smart, but he has an overall lighter personality. He seems to joke more. Like at one point she rushes out and he finds it funny. He's actually laughing at her, but he doesn't always take everything she says seriously, which I think is a good thing. So
it's true, or he'd have been the one who punched her in the stomach instead of Blackjack.
Well, she might need one, but even from Dougal occasionally, you kind of get why Dougal gets annoyed with her.
Might be a little cathartic to knock out some of the craziness, but not for that.
A little over the topness.
Yeah, I do not support that in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. I don't.
I'm aware.
Seriously.
I'm aware. I know.
This is not a real person. She's
no,
annoying.
Of course not. She's annoying, but a lot of people are annoying and you don't go around and hit them.
You don't punch them in the
like,
stomach.
You just go. Okay.
Some people do, and they go to prison.
That's a bad idea. So anyway, after the first Bom-Chicka-Wow, there are some more flashbacks, and he's explaining how the wedding arrangements kind of came about. He told Dougal that he wanted a new kilt. As he's getting this kilt, he's having a talk with Murtaugh, which again, not in the books, but it's a good conversation between him and Murtaugh because he takes Murtaugh's opinions seriously since Murtaugh's his godfather.
Correct.
So he asks, would his mother have approved of Claire? And Murtaugh says, absolutely. You know, she smiles just like your mom did. And
Yeah, when I hit her in the head, knocked her out, and carried her back to the camp, she was pretty light.
he hadn't seen her smiling yet. I like the conversation between him and Murtaugh. Okay. Then you also see one of Jamie's other conditions is that they have to get married by a priest in a church. But usually the tradition for these kind of marriages back in the day is that they had the parties, they would call it reading the banns, and they would read their names and stuff to make sure that there were no other obligations that would keep these people from getting married. And they did that for like 3 weeks in a row. So the priest is first saying, I'm not doing it. It doesn't follow the rules. And Dougal's going, yeah, you're going to do it. They finally make a deal with the priest. And he basically agrees. He's like, I don't know, 4 years old or something like that. But basically, he wants windows for the church because he's cold all the time. And they essentially agree to get them for him, which is how they get the wedding. In the books, it seems a little bit more like it might have been a straight up threat. They don't say it out like that, but that's Claire's idea
We'll
in the
make
book.
a deal with you.
Exactly.
Wink, wink.
You're going to do it. That's the deal.
That's the deal.
So another condition that Jamie wanted was to have a ring made for Claire. And okay, this is again, not in the book, but it's kind of cool. So he takes his key from his home and he has it broken down by a blacksmith so that he keeps the tumblers part and the handle part. I don't know what they're called. And he takes the middle out of it in order to make a ring for Claire. In the books, he doesn't have a ring by the time they get married. She actually has to use an impromptu ring that belonged to Jamie in order to finish the ceremony. But this is kind of a cool addition from the show because that's something he probably would have done because it would have had multiple layers of meaning to him. Kind of liked it. Angus and Rupert are the ones that go get the ring made, and it's kind of fun. You get to see a little bit more of them. They feature way more in the show than they do in the books as a duo like that, but they're a fun duo. I like them.
So there's a lot to do for someone that you're just kind of getting married to out of just like emergency convenience.
Yeah, although he takes it seriously. He feels
No. I'm not saying that he's not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it just seems odd.
Now, she's the one that I think should be telling people, don't be doing a lot for this because I don't plan to stay. Because at this point, she doesn't plan to stay.
You can't tell them that.
I know, but it's kind of sucked that they go through all this stuff for her. And the theory for her is that she's not going to stay.
Even the sex?
Well, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, that too.
All right.
The Bom-Chicka-Wow. Anyway, and then the final condition Jamie had is that he wanted her to have a proper dress. So this is a little bit different too, and that's what I'm trying to point out. In the books, they have a lady in the town that kind of gets the dress. In the show, Ned is able to procure the dress from a whorehouse, and the lady that sells it to him is like the madam, for lack of a better term, and she says it's a dress that's never been worn before. So they're able to get that for Claire. And
Neither has Claire.
the show, it's kind of funny. And it's just a difference, but it's kind of fun either way, so it's fine. So now they're starting to see Claire's side of what she remembers of the wedding because she doesn't remember that much because she was drunk off her fanny. All right, so they wake her up while she's drunk and she doesn't remember very much. But they're basically shoving her into clothes and getting cleaned up and all that stuff because she was just flat out. She goes to the ceremony. She remembers taking off the Frank Who ring. In the books, she just has it on the other hand. In the show, she actually takes it off and puts it in her corset or whatever for safekeeping. But you kind of again see her, what do you want to call it? Conflict. And there's some more muchly Bom-Chicka-Wow wow. That's how I'm going to say it all the time now. And there's a lot of that in these books. So she goes downstairs. Well, and after some of the Bom-Chicka-Wow, she goes downstairs. She's going to get them some food or whatever. And Dougal's actually down there by himself. Everyone's finally gone to bed because now they can all attest that they're witnesses that the marriage was consummated. Yay. She goes downstairs and Dougal's down there and he's like, I'm really glad you married Jamie. By the way, I'm available and I kind of think you're cool. I am so paraphrasing this, but I
love you, Claire.
He says, you're a singular woman. I can't speak Scottish, but she goes, well, I'm married to Jamie. And so he's kind of pissed off at that at the end. I don't know if he thought she was going to go for it. She didn't go for it the first time when she knocked him out, but whatever.
I didn't even understand what that whole point of that was because she just got married.
Yeah, I don't either. It's the only thing I can think is in the show that it's there to prove the rivalry that Dougal has with Jamie. So then at the end in the show, Jamie gives Claire his mom's pearls. He does that before the ceremony in the books, but he does give them to her in the show, and she really likes them, and they have some more Bom-Chicka-Wow wow time. And then it ends with her continuing struggle because as she goes to sort of start cleaning up her clothes, the ring that she had put in her corset for safekeeping falls on the floor, and it's like this symbolic moment. And she doesn't lose it or anything, but it's to show her continuing struggle.
Oh, yeah, she was really struggling.
It was Frank too.
All those many times.
All the many times. The
consummating times.
Very many struggles.
All the many consummating struggles.
So next time is going to be chapter 16 in the books. Also, I want to remind you to please check out MoonshineSafari.com. We have our past episodes that you can get to there. And we're just going to keep going in the books and the episodes. At some point, it's going to deviate more to where it's going to take a lot longer to get to the time to where we review episodes, because as the show goes on, it starts to condense more and more of the books because there's a lot in the books. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying it. I really love some feedback if you're seeing things that we are missing.
Yeah, say hi. Go to some of our social media platforms, either
Like,
Facebook
share, subscribe,
or Rumble or YouTube. And dude, send that stuff.
And it's not all Outlander related. We have other stuff. So check it out.
Sure.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.